Hello and welcome back to the Scrappy Penguin Knits. I am Stephanie the Scrappy Penguin, and today I am going to share with you all of my fabulous finds from the Sierra Nevada Yarn Crawl, which I attended last weekend in California and Nevada. So it was a busy weekend. I got up at 3:45 Friday morning, got ready, got down to the airport, hopped on a plane in Colorado, and flew to Sacramento, California. My sister picked me up, so about 9:45 in the morning, we left the airport in Sacramento, and we were on the crawl. So we went straight from the airport to our first shop in Auburn, California. From Auburn, California, we drove to Grass Valley, California. From Grass Valley, California, on up to Truckee. From Truckee, we drove into Reno, Nevada, and from Reno, we drove to we drove to Minden, Nevada. From Minden, we drove to Stateside, Nevada, and from Stateside, we drove to South Lake Tahoe back into California, and then ended our yarn crawl in Placerville, California. So we left Friday morning. So Friday, we made it all the way to Reno. So we went to Friday, we started out at Auburn Needleworks, went to Heathered Yarn Company. From Heathered Yarn Company, we went to Atelier. From Atelier, we went to Yarn Refuge, and from Yarn Refuge to Jimmy Bean's Wool. So after hitting those 5 shops, we stopped for the night, stayed over in Reno, got up the next morning, and drove to Minden, Stateside, Tahoe, and Lofty Luz. So 9 shops. We did it over 2 days. It was a bunch of fun. I'm going to keep this up here for a minute just because it has all of the shops' names on it. And I believe you can order online from all of these shops as well. So if you want to check any of them out, they were wonderful. I had been to the Heathered Yarn Company in Grass Valley before. My sister and I went there last year. And we just really loved the shop, so it was nice to revisit it this year. Jimmy Bean's Wool, I've ordered from online for years and never been there, so it was really cool to be able to go to their shop. And a lot of these other shops that I had especially since I haven't lived in the area since 2007, they're just shops I hadn't heard of or been to, so it was really a fun trip. So Sierra Nevada Yarn Crawl, it is an annual yarn crawl. So if you get the opportunity to go, I highly recommend it. My sister and I will be going again next year. I'm going to start by just showing you the yarn crawl swag. So each year they come out with a new tote bag, snap bag, and stitch markers. So this is the snap bag for this year's crawl. We've got a knitted mountain, a crocheted mountain, and it says Sierra Nevada Yarn Crawl on it. If you haven't used the Jimmy Bean's, Della Q, snap bags, I definitely recommend these. I knit out of them all the time. They're great, like for my stranded color cowl that I'm doing. I can feed one color through here, one color through here. They never get twisted. I just really love the snap bags. The tote bag for this year was really nice. It has these wonderful leather handles, and this is the tote bag. So we've got our knitted mountain, our crocheted mountain, little triangles for the trees, and it says Sierra Nevada Yarn Crawl 2022. This pin came on the bag, the Yarn Crawl pin. This pin, when I made a purchase at Atelier, they gave us these pins, so I went ahead and added that to my bag. And I am going to start putting my things back into my bag as I show them to you, just so that I kind of keep them all together right now. I'm just going to move that out of the way. So the stitch markers, you don't actually have to purchase unless you want more than one of each stitch marker. But when you visit the store, that's your free gift for just visiting the store. So each one has a different picture on it. So we started here at Auburn Needleworks. So it's got the little ball of yarn, and it says Auburn Needleworks on the back. This one, let's see. Try and go in order here so that it's just easier. Okay, this one is for Lofty Lou's in Placerville. And again, it has the name of the shop on the reverse. This one is Knits and Knots Tahoe. We've got our crochet mountain there. Several of the shops did have out last year's stitch markers that they were letting you have as well, so I do have some of those. This is Knits and Knot, oops, whoops, skipped one. This is the Knitting Nest. This is Knits and Knots Minden. This one is Jimmy Bean's Wool. This one is Yarn Refuge with our knitted mountain. And then this is Atelier. And last but not least, this is from Heathered Yarn Company. Okay, so those are all of my stitch markers, and I did carry my Namaste Makers mini backpack, so I just kept adding them to this as we went along. Okay, so I'm going to go through the kits that I bought. So each shop had kits put together for the crawl, as well as some specialty dyed yarns for the crawl at some of the shops. So we're just going to go in the order that I went in. So the first shop that I went to was Auburn Needleworks in Auburn. And let me grab the pattern, which I just had. Oh, actually, no, I did not. Okay, this one, so some of the shops gave you printed patterns. Some of them gave you a code for Ravelry so that you could go and download the patterns. So I happened to take pictures of all of the patterns. I did screenshots of the patterns along with the yarn that I chose just for my Sierra Nevada Yarn Crawl album, which I made an album for our pictures. This is me and my sister in front of Jimmy Bean's Wool. We had to do a selfie because we were excited to go there. Oh, another thing, you get a passport when you start the crawl, and so every time you go to a shop, they stamp it. They each have their own individual stamps, and at the end, at the very last shop you go to, you turn in your fully stamped passport and you're entered into a drawing. And I thought it was neat that the way they do the drawing is if you visit 5 shops, then all of the passports with 5 shops are in a drawing, with 7 shops are in a drawing, etc. So originally we thought we might only make 7 of the shops. We ended up making all 9, so that was awesome. Okay, let me get through some of these pictures. So at Auburn Needleworks, the pattern was, it's called the Dutch Flat Cowl. So, and it uses the Invictus yarn in Wondrous. And so if you bought the yarn, they gave you 10% off. So this is a picture of that cowl. And that is the yarn I chose, which is right here. So it really is a deep bluey green. It's really pretty. So that was my first shop purchase. And I downloaded that pattern to my Ravelry and then saved it into my Knit Companion because I use Knit Companion for everything. And that was how they did the pattern at Auburn Needleworks. Okay, so from Auburn Needleworks, we drove up to Grass Valley. And at the Heathered Yarn Company, I am a sucker for mini skeins, and so one of the trunk shows they had some mini skeins, and they were just so bright and cheery and fun. I had to get them. I have no idea what I'm making with these. I just think that they were just bright and cheery and fun, so I got them. So that was just one purchase there. And then the Heathered Yarn Company pattern was the Wild Berry Cowl, and they did give you a printed pattern. I'm not gonna turn it around because I don't want to have any patterns up on the screen, but there's no picture of the finished product on the printed pattern, so I'm going to show you a picture of it. Okay, here it is. And this is my kit that I chose. So, yeah, there's that. Okay, from Grass Valley, we drove up to Atelier in Truckee. That was our last California store for the day on Friday. So that one, the pattern were the Sierraville Mitts and Cowl. So you can see here the mitts and cowl. And I did not choose that colorway. I'm not a big pink fan. So, sorry, I'm gonna lean into the camera. But this was the colorway that I chose. So yeah, we'll see how that knits up. Also at Atelier, in addition to the pin that they gave you when you made a purchase, they had some prints. So I chose this one. It says, knitting is jazzercise for your hands, and says Atelier right there. So, okay. From Atelier, we drove on into Reno, and the first Reno shop we hit was Yarn Refuge. And this one, I can actually show you the picture on the pattern because the pattern itself isn't on here. So it is the High Mountain Shawl by Afifa. And I did not choose the green. Instead, I got this kit, which has the blue. Green is my favorite color, but I wasn't really sure how I felt about that limey green color, so I went with this blue color, which I think suits me better. Okay, so after put that away real quick. After Yarn Refuge, we shot over to Jimmy Bean's Wool, and Jimmy Bean's Wool let you shop their warehouse. So you got to go back into their warehouse, and it's huge. We did walk down a couple of the aisles and look in boxes at yarn, but it honestly was a little overwhelming. So, but they did have, when you first walked into the warehouse, they had some one-of-a-kind skeins of Madeleine Tosh on sale for $20 each. So we did stop at that table and look at some Madeleine Tosh. I did not get the kit at Jimmy Bean's Wool. That particular kit just didn't speak to me. It wasn't something that I felt a desire to make, so I didn't get that kit, but I did buy yarn. So this is some of the Madeleine Tosh that I bought. I loved these two together. This one has those purple speckles in it that will match this perfectly. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm making with it yet, but it's fingering weight, about 400 yards a piece. So yeah, plenty to make something with. And then, but wait, there's more. So also, I had grabbed these two Madeleine Tosh one-of-kinds. So we've got the really dark one, and then this one is lighter, but it has dark speckles in it. See, like right there. So these two I thought would go really well together. This is a 3-weight, and I got this in 3-weight specifically because I wanted it to go with the Reno Rafter yarn that I picked up. So the Reno Rafter, I'm gonna go ahead and read the band to you. This is totally local yarn for them. So Reno Rafter 7 is our first ever truly local yarn made with wool from Rafter 7 sheep raised by the University of Nevada, spun into yarn by Mountain Meadow Wool, and dyed by hand at Madeleine Tosh, and for sale exclusively at Jimmy Bean's Wool. So yeah, I thought this glazed pecan color would look nice with these two colors, and I have no idea what I'm making. But I thought it was beautiful yarn, and I really like that it's completely local. So I'll go ahead and put those away. Okay, so Saturday morning, bright and early, we got up and we drove to Knits and Knots Minden. I actually did not buy anything at Knits and Knots Minden. I almost did. I was this close. I walked around the shop carrying this yarn with me. I believe, if I remember right, it was camel and something else. It was super soft, super squishy, but it was a sock weight yarn, and I just felt like if I bought it, I was buying more beautiful yarn that I loved, that I didn't know what I was going to make with, and that it was going to be a labor of love because, of course, it was a very fine yarn. So to knit something larger with it, like a cowl or something, it's definitely not yarn I would have used for socks. It was just too nice for that. But I kind of thought I might be able to buy it at Knits and Knots Tahoe when I went, if I changed my mind in between the two shops, because Knits and Knots Tahoe purchased a yarn shop, this yarn shop in Minden, and renamed it Knits and Knots Minden. But they are two totally separate shops. So the yarn that I saw at Knits and Knots Minden was not at Knits and Knots Tahoe. So I may have missed out on that, but yeah, I didn't get anything at that shop. So the next shop we went to was the Knitting Nest, and that was in Stateside, Nevada. And let me just fold this. So actually, there really are no instructions on that portion. Let me check here. Yeah, there's not. Okay, so at the Knitting Nest, this was the cowl pattern, and this is the yarn that I chose. So this blue-gray color is Malabrigo, and this is Noro. And they had several different kits to choose from, different colorways with these yarns. But I felt like these were more neutral and I would wear more often, so this is what I went with. And the owner of the shop, she said if you purchased a second hank of the solid, you would have enough to make both the cowl and the matching hat, which is, there's the matching hat. And so I did go ahead and purchase that second hank, and then she gave you the hat pattern at no additional cost. So that was really nice. So, and it was a cute little shop. I never would have found it had it not been for the crawl, because it wasn't like on the main strip in Stateline. It was kind of back out of the way up the mountain, and yeah, so it was a neat little shop. So I was really glad to be able to go there and see the shop, and the owner was super nice. Also at the Knitting Nest, sorry, I was just waiting until that quit crinkling. They had a table outside of the shop where they had several patterns that were just free patterns that you could go look through and take whatever you wanted. So I did get 2 books. This one, because I just really loved this, but it also has the cardigan as well as a pullover. I think that's it. I think it was just those 3. Oh no, there's also a tank. So anyways, yeah, I grabbed this one because I thought it was cute. There's a better picture of the tank. And then I also grabbed this book, mainly because when I saw this in the chunky yarn, I just was like, I thought this was awesome. And this would be very practical for me now that I am living in Colorado. But there are 4 patterns in this little booklet as well. So that was the Knitting Nest. From the Knitting Nest, we drove to back into California and went to Knits and Knots Tahoe in South Lake Tahoe. And that pattern, I got a code for the Ravelry download. So I'm just going to show you. It's called the Orange Glaze Cowl. You can see it's orange and cream, kind of like a creamsicle colors. I am not a huge orange fan. It's just not something I wear a lot of. So I chose a different colorway. They had several different kits available. This one was actually, I think, their most popular because there were the fewest remaining of this color. And I noticed on Facebook yesterday that they had put up a post about which kits were left, and this was not one of them. But anyways, so this is what I purchased to knit this. And then from Tahoe, we drove on to Lofty Lou's in Placerville. That was the last shop on our stop. And the cowl for them, it's called the Main Street cowl, and I don't want to show the pattern, but this is the little cowl. There's another little close up there. And it's just a really simple linen stitch loop. And in the picture, I thought it looked kind of, I'm not sure what the word is that I'm looking for. It's just kind of thin, not as chunky of a cowl as I may like. So I'm undecided yet on if I'm knitting this with the yarn that I bought or not. I bought the yarn because I love the yarn. Whether I knit this cowl with it or I knit something else with it remains to be seen. But the yarn that I purchased is by Lisa Souza, and she is a local dyer in Placerville. So she lives right there. And that was, you know, again, anything that was local, I was really trying to get. I love to support local. But I just, when I saw this skein of yarn, I fell in love with it. I love all of the greens and kind of blues. And there's this kind of like brownish rust color. I just thought it was gorgeous. Green is my favorite color, so I had to buy this yarn. I didn't have a choice. So yeah, not 100% sure what I'm making with it, but I may go ahead and just knit the Main Street cowl with it, and it may be a piece that I end up loving to wear because it is a little lighter. So yeah, we'll see. But if you get a chance to go to the yarn crawl, I definitely recommend it. And it's very easily doable in a weekend, you know, a 2-day trip. I stayed, of course, a few days extra because I was visiting my family. But like I said, I got there Friday morning, went straight from the airport into the crawl, and made it through 5 of the 9 shops in the first day. The drive wasn't bad because I had our whole itinerary written out for us, how long it would be in between each shop. So, you know, like when we finished at Auburn Needleworks, we went ahead and had lunch at a little bagel place that was right there in the same shopping center as the yarn shop. And then we went ahead and drove over to Grass Valley. And then, you know, by the time you've finished walking around the yarn shop and, you know, shopping, checking out the kits, all of that, checking out the different trunk shows that they have, by the time you've done that and then you get in your car and you drive to the next shop, it's really not bad. The furthest distance we had in that day one was 1 hour from Grass Valley to Truckee. I think that was our longest stretch, I think. But everything else, they were shorter little chunks of driving. So it really didn't feel like we drove from Sacramento to Reno because it was broken up. So we're definitely doing the crawl again next year. Next year I will try to take some videos along the way. But yeah, I will definitely keep you guys posted. Oh, another thing that we incorporated into the crawl If you've never been to Placerville to Apple Hill, it's 10 minutes from Lofty Loos. So we always used to go there. My mom loved going there, and so we went there, ate, bought caramel apple, apple pie, apple cider, you know, all of those wonderful things. Excuse me. So it was kind of like a 2-in-1 trip. For next year, I'm going to do some research and see if there are any quilt shops near the yarn shops that are on the crawl, because I have another sister who doesn't knit or crochet, but she quilts. And so if I can incorporate some quilt shops along the way and we can drag her out, it would be really fun for the three of us to go. So that's what I'm going to try and put together an itinerary for next year. So yeah, I will keep you guys posted on what I end up knitting first. I'm thinking I'm going to start with the easiest project first and then go through. But I am still working on my other color work cowl, the silver and blue one that I had showed you guys previously. I was able to get 2 rows knitted on this trip. One on my first flight from Colorado to California, and one on my second flight from California back to Colorado. So I'm going to be working on that more and trying to finish that one up before I start one of these projects. But I definitely have enough projects to keep me busy where I don't have to think about what I'm making, because these kits have all been curated for us. So yeah, go ahead and check out the shops. I know after the crawl, there's usually still kits available, and stitch markers, even tote bags and snap bags. So even though you didn't attend the crawl, you can still you know, get in on the crawl by checking out those shops' websites and purchasing those kits after the fact. So I hope you guys will do that, and I will leave links to all of the shops in the video description below, and as well as a link to the Sierra Nevada Yarn Crawl page. So in case you want to go next year, you can check it out.